Political reflections: elect clowns expect a circus, tweeted Fahim Chowdhury. Theresa May is now odds-on to be gone by the end of the year, says Betfair. Quite a turnaround just 24 hours ago, before the Brexit draft agreement was published. Odds of that happening were 24-1. Mohammed Waliye, who I follow, describes her as like Mark Ramprakash, scratching around, hitting the odd single, and saying that she's not going anywhere. And I think I tend to agree with them. She's doomed to carry on leading us through this mess because there isn't anybody else. That's Kenneth Clark predicting she won't be removed from office. I came across the transcript of an interview Trump gave to the Daily Caller. Maybe the machines are bad. Now the machines are all smoky. It's crazy. Honestly, it's a disgrace. Stephen King, Donald Trump's tweets over the last 9 days provide a window into an increasingly disordered mind. Since we are all to some extent his hostages, I find this dismaying and rather frightening, he said. Going back to that Daily Caller transcript, although you know cable television was supposed to be a dying medium, and because of me it's now hotter than it's ever been, but someday I won't be here and it will die, he said. Russian President Putin and US Vice President Mike Pence met at an East Asia plenary session on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Singapore. Macais Bruno tweeted with a great analogy and a great piece on China, artificial intelligence and the coming global power struggles. Think of Chinese society as a giant black box, and the Chinese Communist Party as a deep learning programmer. Sputnik is saying the US warns against empire and aggression in the Indo-Pacific amid a row with China. Like you, we seek an Indo-Pacific in which all nations, large and small, can prosper and thrive, secure in our sovereignty, confident in our values, and growing stronger together. We all agree that empire and aggression have no place in the Indo-Pacific, Pence said. The statement came a day after Pence warned China that if it fails to fundamentally change its behavior, it will face all-out Cold War with Washington and its partners. These remarks echo those made by Defense Secretary James Mattis, who reiterated last month that Washington cannot accept the People's Republic of China's militarization of the South China Sea or any coercion in this region. And then the Asian Nikkei Asian Review, U.S. Security and Economy Undoubtedly Put at Risk by China, 2018 report by the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission criticizes Beijing's attempts to turn Asian seaports into military supply bases. The annual report specifically says China is developing and operating seaports under its Belt and Road Initiative, ostensibly aimed at creating a vast economic bloc, but in fact using them as fuel and supply bases for its navy. 15th of October, I wrote a piece, War is Coming, and I was talking about the incident with the USS Decatur, where a Chinese warship came within 45 yards of it, and I was calling that a precursor. And Asia Times is also saying that the US drops the gauntlet on the South China Sea. Pence flew on Tuesday over the South China Sea in transit to the ASEAN summit in Singapore. His Air Force plane passed within 50 miles of Chinese outposts in the contested Spratly Islands. Upon landing at the summit, attended by regional leaders, Pence said his overflight was a type of freedom of navigation operation and that it was a message to China that the US will not be intimidated by Beijing's warnings against US operations in areas it claims in the maritime region. So it's definitely quite adversarial, and I, for one, am not buying into this idea that it's all going to be roses when Trump meets Xi Jinping. But going back to my piece from the 15th of October, I was saying that the US Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer and Peter Navarro have operated with surgical precision and have introduced an anti-dragon clause. Do have a read of what I was writing. And The Atlantic has a very interesting piece called The Madman Behind Trump's Trade Theory, Peter Navarro. In Navarro's telling, those cheap flip-flops are supporting an authoritarian state, and that cut-rate washing machine might be mortgaging America's future. Navarro is among the most important generals in Trump's trade war, and a seemingly improbable one. He is the madman behind Trump's madman theory approach to trade policy, there to make enemies and allies alike believe that the president can and will do anything to make America great again. The reality is, unless the president talks tough on trade and has possible concrete actions to back up that talk, these people won't talk to us. They had no incentive to talk to us, none, because they're winning and we're losing. Nudged by Navarro, Trump realized that his views were being undermined by his own people. My Peter, as Trump sometimes calls Navarro, came back into favor. Cohn quit. Trump finally got his trade war. 28th of August last year, I was writing about Xi Jinping's One Belt, One Road program, binding the world to Beijing because all the roads and railways have but one destination, and that is China. 9th of July, I wrote a piece, Tariff Wars, Hoodlums First, that's there as well. The Saudi prosecutor's statement is a great work of fiction. He wants the world to believe that a group of goons just felt like killing the most prominent non-royal Saudi in the world. A Middle Eastern official tells me. That's Richard Engel.